It's October. Woo! So I am recording this on the 1st of October. Hooray! Which is awesome. I'm very excited that it's October. I love this month. And it is so nice that we are out of eclipse season, and I am not going to talk about it anymore. So, in this episode, we are going to talk about the fact that it's Libra season and what cards associated with that, because I love the fact that we can link tarot to astrology for those of us who are maybe just dabbling in astrology. The tarot cards give us a great way to really understand that a little bit better. So, we'll look at which card is associated with Libra, and I might bring up the star card because it is the card after the Tower card, which was last month's energy. And I'll talk a little bit about the card that I pulled for the month ahead for the collective in October. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then I will pull a card at the end of it all for what kind of energy we need for the week ahead. I'm so excited. I do record these on Wednesday and then get them up on Friday. That's my normal cadence. Wednesdays, if you don't know, are ruled by Mercury, which is all about communication. So that's why I like to record on Wednesday, but then we upload for Friday because it's my little love note for you guys, and Fridays are Venus. So if you were wondering how I've kind of worked that schedule out, that's the plan. How we doing? We good? Take a deep breath in. Whew. Let's get going. We're in October. Now, the way our astro seasons work is that they tend to be about the middle of the month. The sun ingresses into the new sign. Now, that would have been, I could have talked about it last week and I did not. So I wanted to talk about it this week. So that means that for October, our two signs are Libra, which the sun moved into in the 21st or 22nd, somewhere in there. The sun moved on the 21st, because I did talk about that, because when the eclipse happened, that was the new moon in Virgo, and then on like the 22nd, the sun then moved into Libra. Like, it was like just right on the cusp. And guess what? We're gonna have a similar thing this month. And so this month, the astro, what's going on, high level, what you might want to know is that the sun is currently in Libra. Libra is connected to the Justice card. So we will talk about the Justice card. And then on the 6th of this month, so that will be on Monday, Monday the 6th, we will have our full moon. And then the full moon is in Aries. And then we will have the new moon in Libra. The new moon will be in Libra on the 21st of this month, and then the sun will move into Scorpio on the 22nd, and that card is the Death card. So as we get closer, we'll look at the Death card, which is perfect for spooky season. Because the Death card's not really as scary as you all think it is, but it does have some creepy imagery, so I cannot wait to have an episode all about that. But today's episode, we are going to talk about our first card here, which is Justice. Now, funnily enough, last episode I talked about wanting to talk about the swords, and Justice, look at what she's holding, a big ol' sword. Now, swords are connected to air in the tarot. Apparently, there's some debate about this, whether the swords are fire or air. I didn't know that there was debate about that until maybe about 6 months ago. Everything I had ever learned previous was that swords are air. Why? Because they swish through the air and go whoosh, right? Air. The other thing about swords and air is this idea that swords are thoughts So air is connected to thoughts and words. Thoughts and words actually can cause a lot of damage. Hello, do we see what's going on in the world around us with people purposely telling half truths or telling things in ways that definitely hurt other people, right? Words have major impact. The same way a sword can cut someone down, your words can cut people down. You know what else cuts people down? You cut yourself down with your own thoughts, right? So swords are definitely tied to air, and that is definitely tied to our speaking and, I mean, even our written word, right? Any form of communication, our thoughts, our words, what we write down, those things have big impact, reverberating impact, right? So it is very swords energy, very much let's cut through things, okay? So, justice. Big old sword in one hand, and then in the other hand we have the scales. Okay, and so we are weighing things. Okay, and then you'll also notice that justice is in between two pillars. Now, this is a common imagery that comes up in a few different places. We see the pillars on the high priestess, we see the pillars on the hierophant, and now we're seeing the pillars on justice. High priestess is 2, which also, when we look at the fact that the hierophant is, or that justice is number 11, 11 adds down to 2. Funny how that works. And then we've got the 5 with the hierophant. Okay. And so we definitely have this, the pillars represent our structure that we then don't necessarily, it's a structure and it's a transition. Okay. Pillars very much are a solid support system. But then when you pass through those pillars, that is a portal into somewhere next, right? There's a threshold there. Okay. And so justice is in between you and that next space. The other big thing to look at justice is how much red is on this card. Now, the red color is associated with the root. Okay, the colors on this are very much associated with the chakra colors. Okay, and so we have red being very predominant on this card because we are getting to the root of the matter. We are getting to the truth of it all and foundations, our rootedness. Our ground is based on truth, our foundational work, okay? So justice is very important. And see, we got a little tiny white shoe poking out here. You know who else has a white shoe? The hierophant, which is really amusing. It's funny because, like, when we've got these robed characters on our cards, often they'll still show you their little shoe. Somewhere they're poking their shoes out. Why? I think it's because it's very much indicative of being able to consider what your foundation is on your own self. How are you connected to the ground? Justice is connected with this little white shoe, just like the hierophant is connected with a little white shoe. And white is that idea of spirit and purity and being able to be connected to other realms. Okay. So justice is truth. Okay. The thing about truth that is really important for everyone to pay attention to is that we all think that we know the truth, okay? And maybe we have insight to the truth, but mostly we know our truth, okay? And our truth even is something that we should be considering on a regular basis because our truth is consistently, we should be addressing our truth on the regular basis when new information comes in and we ask ourselves, does this impact our truth? Do we need to shift how we view the world because we now have this new piece of information? Okay. Justice is this reminder that there is a lot of information out there and everything plays against one another. The scales balance. And sometimes we like to think of balance as 50-50, and it is not. If you have 50 feathers, they weigh differently than 50 rocks, okay? It's not the same, right? balance in the scale is weighing things against one another. We look at different truths and see how they hold up against one another. Okay. And if that thing doesn't work, if we find a new piece of information and realize it goes against what we know and what we know is not fitting anymore, we can use this sword to cut out what no longer is true for us, right? So justice is coming back, and checking on our truths. Now, if you see the color behind this drape, the red drape is yellow. Yellow is our color of showing up. Yellow is that color of seeing. So once we know our truth and once we check on the balance of things and cut away what's not actually working, once we get to know more, then we get to show up again in our new truth. That's what we do once we step through that portal. Okay. Once we step past that curtain of, yes, I am grounded, I know what is true in this moment, then we can step into that next layer. Okay. And as much as I said, we're not talking about eclipses, this is still very much in alignment with what just happened. Okay. We just went through a period where things should have been shaken up for you in some portion of your life. And then we're reviewing, right? We're checking on ourselves and our truth and our balance and what is known and unknown to us and how can we assess this. You know how I said that 11 adds down to 2? Yeah, and 2 is high priestess. That's still that inner knowing within ourselves, right? That's the coming back to, but what is coming in for me? What am I knowing? What am I knowing? What am I knowing? What can I flow through with all this, right? So we had the tower come down and we have areas of our lives that were shaken up, and now we're reassessing with justice. We're saying, okay, but what is the truth? What is going on? Where am I going from here? And so the card after the tower is the star. And the star is this idea of what we're working towards. If we don't have a direction, we just end up wandering until something pulls on us. But that thing pulling on us, is it the thing we actually want to be moving towards? And that's a really important thing to pay attention to right now, especially in this time where things just feel chaotic and it feels like there's so much information. Justice invites us to really parse through everything. The star card invites us to move towards our hopes and dreams and desires, right? And so when we think about Libra season, we think balance, but we need to remember that balance isn't fair in the idea of it's all weighs the same. What is 50-50? How are we weighing it out? Okay. And so in Libra season, we're looking at that, understanding the balance and what is the right balance for us and what is the truth we are holding on to that's helping us move through the world. Okay. Those are just really, really important things. And then, you know, all of the cards play together. Sometimes we, especially if we haven't learned the tarot, if we have not spent time with all of the tarot in the way that it is laid out, okay, sometimes we don't actually see that card after card after card build on each other. Okay, there is ways that things go. If we look at 11s in our minor arcana, and the minor arcana, that's the pages. Okay, so we get lessons 1 through 10 in our minor arcana, and then we get a page card. And the pages, do I happen to have one nearby? Well, no, I have the tower and the star. Wands. Of course. No page right on top. Of course not. But when we look at pages, page technically would be the 11th card in the minor arcana, okay? Just like justice is 11. And pages ask us that same thing. where it's like, hey, I just learned 1 through 10. I just learned all these lessons, 1 through 10, when it comes to this card. Okay, if we're continuing to think about the swords, what happens with the swords, 1 through 10, when we have an Ace of Swords, it's an idea that comes into our mind. It's a spark of inspiration. It's a word we want to say. It's something that comes to our brains, something we get inspired to say. That's the Ace. By the time we get to the 10, we have gotten to this point where we have thought and spoke and expressed so many ideas about this thing that we are overrun with it. We are laying face down in the dirt, just wanting to feel our feelings, and so exhausted from all of these swords sticking out of our back. And that's because that's the way thoughts build over time. We get excited and interested in something, and then eventually we end up, it's consuming. And that's not always bad, because we get to that point where we're now consumed with it and we're like, cool, I got a lot of information. And so then we go from that 10 of laying to suddenly we're back at the page. And when we're at the page, we're now feeling the breeze in our hair. We are now seeing what's laid out in front of us. We are watching the birds fly through the sky, okay? We're playing with the swords now, okay? We learned all these things 1 through 10, and we got just overwhelmed with all of the thoughts. And now we're like, huh, but what could that mean? And suddenly the sword is up in the air and we're looking at it in a new light. Pages are about considering everything we learned 1 through 10 and then going back to learning about it all again. Cool. Look at all of the things I just learned. What can I do with that? Where can this go? What new way can I look at it? Because obviously I exhausted myself to this point. What new thing can I learn from this? What new way can I express myself? What new way can I approach this information that's different and exciting? And you know what comes after that? Then we get the knight, and the knight says, cool, I process this in a new way. Let me go share this. Okay. And so justice and 11 and the pages, it's all about taking this information we have and then doing something with it, right? Processing it and using that to apply to ourselves in a different way. Okay. And so that is really something to think about this Libra season, is what is it that's coming through, and what is it that I want to do with this information, and how can I use that to kind of bring myself back to being sure of myself and showing up in the way that I want to show up in the world. Awesome. So I did it. We talked about justice and we talked about the swords, because again, big sword, swords, thoughts. And the thing is, why I was saying that sometimes we get a bad rap on it, because I mean, the swords have some stabby energy to them, right? That's what I was saying. Words and thoughts can cut people down if you allow them to. And so people have just automatically taken that imagery and been like, this is bad. Oh, it's bad to be thinking. It's not bad. Meditation practice does not tell us to stop thinking. It tells us to observe our thoughts, okay? Our thoughts help us move through the world. Our desires help give us guidance on what is it that we're looking to do, right? We think about things because it then helps propel us into the next thing. Thoughts are not bad. It's how we relate to our thoughts that's important. And so the message of the swords is never stop thinking, or your thoughts are bad, or it's bad to have words, that your words are going to hurt someone. No. Even the 10 of swords, when we're laying in the ground with all of that thoughts, it's that wake up call of like, you're overthinking this. Let's do something with it, right? Because we get a propension of just overthinking sometimes, because that's our brain's job, is to help make sure we're safe by examining all of it in our own lens. And sometimes that just feels like a lot. And so we've taken this role sometimes where we're like, oh no, what's going to happen? Oh no, the Three of Swords shows up. I'm going to be so hurt. And it's like, no, no, your thoughts have an impact on your emotions. That's what it's reminding you. Okay. And so then it's like, okay, how can I work with this? How can I work with my thoughts? How can I observe them and do something with what's coming through? Our thoughts are not bad. They are information. And information is a beautiful, wonderful thing to have. It's good that we get that information coming in, right? So, swords are not bad. Justice. Justice isn't bad. It's not retribution. It's looking at ourselves and understanding what our truth is and then being willing to look at more truth as it comes through and see how it works with our truth. Okay? Cool. I like that. Now, I did do a card for the October month in my Patreon. I like to do a month ahead reading for people who are members of the community there. And so I did do a month ahead reading there. The card that I pulled in that reading was the Three of Pentacles. And I thought that was really beautiful for the month of October because the month of September was the Tower. Okay. And the Tower comes down, and now it's time to actually build things back up, right? You're down to foundation. And so maybe you didn't want that tower anymore, but something is going to be built there. And so the Three of Pentacles is this message of, okay, we're going to work together. The Three of Pentacles is this message of a community coming together to build something. You have somebody who has desired things to be built. You have someone who is the skilled laborer who knows how to build it, and you have an apprentice, or you have a mentor who helps guide the project along. Okay. And so the fact that for the month ahead reading, the Three of Pentacles was what showed up is beautiful because our towers came down in September, and now we're considering what do we want to build back up. And we're not doing it alone. We're doing it with community, and we all have a beautiful part to play in this. And so I loved that that was a card that I pulled for the month of October. Now, in my Patreon, I also have a couple more cards that I pull as part of the month ahead. We looked at how to work with this energy, this Three of Pentacles energy, when it came to mind, body, soul. And so that's all there. If you'd like to join my Patreon at the free level, that's also included there. I also have two more levels that have a few more perks. If you're interested, go ahead and check that out. So that was our card for the month of October, which I really, really love, especially after having the Tower be the energy for September. Knowing that we're building back up in community is really, really beautiful energy, and I cannot wait to see where that goes. So if you're feeling a little like everything's just chaotic and things are still crumbling and the dust is not settled at all, that's totally fine. Start finding the community who's looking to build things that you are interested in building and start getting with them so that you guys can all build together, right? That's the goal of the month is, okay, even if we only lay a cornerstone by the end of the month, you've still gotten together with the people and made the plans and really made the community grow and figured out where you want to go next, which is important. That's really important after the tower comes down. So let's pull a card for the upcoming week. Yeah. I kind of like that I do this share with this on Friday with the idea that, okay, as you go through the weekend and the following week, here's a card that you can keep in mind. Nice little synchronistic way. Okay, so our card, how to use this new month energy. How are we tapping into this new month energy? Another balance card. Okay, so we're in Libra. We have the Two of Pentacles as our card for this week. Now, you can see he is hanging out. He's got a pentacle in each hand and he seems to be juggling them. Okay. His color is orange. Orange is all about creativity. Pentacles are all about creating things, right? In the background, you can see some boats on the water. They also look like they're going up and down, right? So we are figuring out how we're balancing putting things out into the world this month or this week. That's fantastic, right? We just had an exhausting, crazy eclipse cycle. This week, we're really tending to figuring out what is ours to keep for ourselves and what is ours to give out, and how are we juggling between them? How are we juggling between play and work? How are we juggling between inside and outside our house? How are we juggling between what we keep for ourselves energy wise and what we want to provide for others? Okay. And so this week, tap into that heart space, because if you'll notice, his infinity is in green. Tap into that heart space, tap into what you want to create, tap into what feels right for creating for yourself versus creating for others, and really trust that you know where you want to go with this. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited it's October. Go be the most spooky version of yourself. And I will see you in a week if I don't see you sooner. Good luck. Bye for now.